Hi guys, Scott Woodward here for Champion Profits to talk about these 3 games on Saturday. First up we have the Titans versus the Raiders being played at School Park on the Gold Coast, and in the 4 games played at this ground against the Raiders so far, the Raiders have been unable to secure a victory, but I don't think they've ever been in as good a shape as what they are for this game, and I don't think they've ever played the Titans with Dugan and Campese both in the same team, and they get the chance to write the record a little bit in this game. I thought the Raiders were highly impressive last week in going down to the Melbourne Storm. Certainly no disgrace in just being defeated by the Melbourne Storm, and I thought they were very unlucky, and given an even bounce of the ball, I think they would have won that game. Had no luck at all with referee decisions. And look, I know they have on the road after a home game win, and it's not an easy thing to do to travel up to the Gold Coast, but this is a very well balanced side. I haven't got a big rap on the coach, but I think there's some potential coaches in the side, and a lot of clever thinking plays in the side, and I think they can get it right. And if they play just as good as they played against the Storm last week, I think they can beat the Titans. The Titans went very well. You can't do any better than win 18-0 in your very first game of the season, playing it away, and they did very well beating the Cowboys last week. Having said that, the Cowboys were disgraceful and they made them look good, and I didn't think the Titans were that terrific. I thought they were okay. You'd expect them to improve back at home, and once again they'll put a lot of faith on Jamal Idris. Now it's going to be interesting to see how the Canberra coach combats that. At the moment he's got Shaun Berrigan, who was only 87 kilos, up against big Jamal Idris, and that will be a mismatch and he will steamroller him. Although I recall several years back in a Bronco grand final when Shaun Berrigan had to mark Greg Inglis in a grand final when he was playing hooker, and he did a wonderful job. Greg Inglis was nullified in that grand final. One of the things Berrigan does is he gets up on them very quickly before they can get a head of steam up, and he's able to nullify their attack, and he may very well do that if he stays as the centre. But I wouldn't be surprised. They've got Joel Thompson, who normally played right centre for the Raiders. I wouldn't be surprised if they bring in a much bigger body to play the centre. But it'll be interesting to see what those tactics are, and the game may very well be decided on how Jamal Idris goes, and that was certainly the case last week against the Cowboys. He was dynamic, Idris. The Cowboys just couldn't contain him. But at the prices on offer, I give the Raiders a great chance of causing an upset here. Not quite sure what the Titans coach is going to do. He's still got Matt Schramer on the bench, and Kane Lawton went terrific last week, but I think Matt Schramer is a potential star, and fit and well, I would have to have him starting in this game. Aside from that, they're still experimenting with their 5'8". For mine, he's not a 5'8". I don't know what they're going to do there. William Zillman looks like he'll be the long-term fullback, but from what I saw of Jordan Rankin, I haven't seen him yet passed off the big tick that he's going to be a long-term number 6 for the Titans. So we'll keep that checking out. But we've got Scott Prince who'll control the Titans, and he'll be up against the Raiders' David Campese, and I'm really looking forward to seeing how Campese, did I say David Campese? Let me say Terry Campese. David's his cousin. Really looking forward to seeing David Campese go with Josh Dugan. I think they're both well beaters, and I think they both have got a very good chance of being in the same state of origin team this year. So simply because of the Dugan and the Campese factor, I'm going to go for the Raiders at the plus in this game. The Raiders bring up Brett White to start in this game. I think that's fine. From the under-20s, Jack Wighton comes on to the wing. Now, Jack's a right side winger, and they've already got Blake Ferguson in the side, who's also a right side winger. So one of these guys is going to have to play on the left. I don't know how that's going to upset the balance of the team. I know Blake Ferguson doesn't like playing on the left, so maybe Wighton will go onto the left side. But I think very, very promising signs that I saw from the Raiders last week. And while they lost their first home ground last week, I think they'll just about win every home ground game from here on in, which makes them a very good chance of playing semi-final football this year. The other game we have on Saturday is the Bulldogs versus the Dragons, and look, I can only be on the Dragons. From what I saw last week, the Dragons were terrific against the Knights, and I thought the Bulldogs got home against the Penrith Panthers, but maybe a little bit lucky. I didn't like what I saw in the first half. I think there was a total lack of disunity there. And if we look at the records, the last 9 times these teams have played, St George have won 6 of them, Canterbury have only won 3, and I think that will be extended a little bit after this week. I want to talk a little bit about the Bulldogs 5'8". They've selected Josh Reynolds. It's not what I would have done. I said that last week, and he looks like an absolute revolving door. I don't think I've seen a worse tackler in the NRL, and I'm sure that St George would have picked that up, and they'll be running at him all day. I said last week that I would have picked Joel Romolo as my number 6, and he come on and he was dynamic as the fill-in hooker, and he'll probably do the same again this week. But I'd be starting him at 5'8". He can play 5'8". He's a better defender than Reynolds, and I think he's every bit as good in attack. I think he's a very good player, Romolo. So that's what I'd be doing. Obviously, no Frank Pritchard for the Bulldogs is a massive blow. I'm going to be interested to see who they bring up and start. To me, it's a no-brainer. I'd definitely be starting Greg Eastwood as my lock forward. No doubt in the world about that. But he selected James Graham again off the bench. I said last week I thought that was a surprise. He's a dead-set 80-minute footballer, and I think you saw by the 66 minutes that he played last week that he is an 80-minute footballer. This guy has got an unbelievable engine, and he doesn't get tired. I don't know what he's trying to prove by bringing him off the bench. He's one of the world's best prop forwards, and he's certainly not out of his depth playing NRL. James Graham, he definitely should be starting. So should Greg Eastwood. The reason why the Bulldogs got off to a bad start last week is because he didn't play his best forwards to start with. So why wouldn't you start your 2 internationals, James Graham and Greg Eastwood? Having them both coming off the bench is one of the reasons why they gave away such a big start to Penrith last week. They can't afford to do that against the Dragons. You give the Dragons a start, and that's end of show. You have to start with your best side. They're going to really struggle without Frank Pritchard this week. The Dragons will also struggle on that left side. If Matt Cooper is out, the mail is that he probably will be out. They're going to give him till an hour before the game, evidently, before he decides. He's very important to their left side defence and attack. If he doesn't play, we would assume that Chase Stanley will come in on that left side. And Chase has got plenty of ability, so while he's not Matt Cooper, but he's still a very, very capable replacement. And Bo Scott will retain that right centre position, we would think. But apart from that, the Dragons look pretty well intact. And I just think that they'll just do too much right in this game. They tick off all the boxes. A good defensive side. Their forward pack went terrific against the Newcastle Knights last week, and they only have to do that again, and I think they'll be winning this game and winning it pretty comfortably. I do think it'll be a low-scoring game for Champion Profits members. We'll look at some exotics there, and as far as the options are concerned, but at this stage we're saying that the Dragons look comfortable winners in that game. The last game, and a very interesting game I have to say, is the Sharks and the Knights, and I can't separate these two teams in the ratings, although the bookies have the Knights a substantial favourite in this game. And let me just say 2 things in favour of the Sharks. They have a superior pack to the Knights. The Knights were awful in the forward department against St George last week, and the Cronulla Sharks went fantastic against the West Tigers forwards, and it's just an outstanding forward pack that the Cronulla Sharks have. So the Cronulla Sharks have an advantage in the forwards in this game, and they've also got Todd Carney in the side. He was a world-class back when he's in form, and he looks to me as he's not far off his form. He was very quiet in the first half, but his second half was outstanding, and if he can have 2 good first halves, the Sharks will just about get away with this game on the back of an outstanding forward pack. So for me, at the odds, we can only be on the Cronulla Sharks in this game. Young Stuart Mills, who I was very impressed with last year when he came on in first grade, and I thought he went fantastic in the semi-finals for the Cronulla Sharks last year in the Toyota Cup. He's very promising. He comes in on the wing, and I think him playing there alongside of Colin Best will probably be the key to the game. They have to make sure that they defend very well against the potent right side attack of the Knights, as in Wes Nagama and also Akila Uate. If they can look after those guys, and I thought Colin Best went very well last week, and if he can defend very well with Stuart Mills on that side, the Sharks will just about get home in this game, because we know the Sharks will certainly hold their own in the forward pack, and I don't think that Newcastle have got a forward as good as Todd Carney. So there's a few boxes that we can tick here for the Sharks, and we're getting very good odds. We're going to get a good start in this game, or you can just bet and take the good price. I think the good value, I want to be on the Sharks in this game. I need to see Newcastle Knights do a few things. I was disappointed with them in a few areas last week. I was disappointed in their forward pack, and I was disappointed in the fact that probably their most dominant player, Kurt Gedley, he was very quiet last week for his standards. If you have a look at his stats from last year and you have a look at his stats from last week, they're two different guys. And he's clearly having a lot of trouble adjusting to his new coach, Wayne Bennett, and the instructions that he's getting. He's not as dominant, and Newcastle go best when Kurt Gedley is dominant. He's not a natural ball player. He's an individualist, and so he has to play there at second receiver. And the coach has clearly given the halfback the role to call the shots, and I don't know if that's going down too well with Kurt Gedley. So it's going to be interesting to see if they can get their combination. For Newcastle to go very well, they have to get their 6, 7 and 9 all communicating very well, so that it'll make things easier for Darius Boyd at fullback. That never happened last week, so they've got a fair bit of work to do on that combination, and they need to get good early ball out to Wes Nagama and Kila Uate if they're going to be doing very well. Matt Hilda, going to be interesting to see what happens there. He comes on and replaces Danny Buttriss when Danny gets a bit tired at hooker. And while I thought Danny went okay last week, he wasn't sensational. And he really does need to step up. Otherwise, there's a chance that Kurt Gedley could be playing number 9. And I've always thought that number 9 was Kurt Gedley's best position. He should be the 9 for New South Wales, and he's clearly the best 9 for the Knights, given that Danny is past his best. But Danny is still a great player, and he will give them good direction and good experience and good talk on the field. And I certainly think he deserves his spot. But just looking forward over the season, maybe Kurt Gedley is the guy who will be playing 9, which means that they need to go and find 5'8". But one of the good things for the Newcastle Knights is the fact that Jarrod Mullen looks to be settled down very well with his new coach, and I thought he had a very good game. I thought his kicking game was good, and I thought his running game was good. So that's a big plus. So if they can get Jarrod Mullen going well, along with Darius Boyd, and they can get a little bit more grunt in their forward pack, they'll be certainly very hard to beat this game, and they'll certainly go very well in the season. But for me, they're operating at about 70% capacity, Newcastle, which is probably not a bad thing because they've got a lot of room for improvement. So look, I don't think there'll be much in this game. I think it'll be a low-scoring game. Once again, we'll be looking at the unders line when they are finalised by all the bookmakers tomorrow. Most of the bookmakers have been very shy at putting out unders and overs lines. I don't know why. That's their job, to put out lines. I don't know why they have to wait till the day of the game before they can put out a line. I don't know why they can't put out a line 3 or 4 days before the game. What's the problem, boys? That's your job. That's what you get paid for. Anyway, we haven't got all the lines out yet, so we'll get those to members via email when they do come out. And if we think it looks attractive and there's an opportunity, we'll let you know in your mail. So there it is from me. 3 great games on Saturday. I think we have an opportunity to back a few winners and lay a few losers. And I'll look forward to talking to you for Sunday's game and also Monday Night Football. Great to have Monday Night Football back. Have a good weekend. Talk to you soon. Cheers.